Hello again, boys, girls, lady boys, and Z's. So yet another video. And look, this time you can see my hands even. So I give up. I give up. At least for a while. I think we're going to stop doing the whole Let's Live videos and worrying about high quality videos. Because it was funny, like it was almost ironic. Yesterday I did the video on consistency over quality, talking about how it's most important that you put out work consistently and not worry about quality so much. And I did that 1080p 60 frames per second because we're at a good RV park here that has 5 to 10 megabit per second upload speeds. And then for whatever reason I started uploading it. I figured it would be published in the morning, and then I woke up in the morning and it was 69% done. And so it then took like, half the day to finish uploading and processing. At which point I started to look at it and like, you know what? Trying to upload 12 gig video files is probably at this point in life, probably at this point in time, just a bridge too far. It's like, I keep trying to do it, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I really want to create these videos in such a way that when you go and you're commuting to work in the morning, you know that you're going to have a new one at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the fact of the matter is even when we have good internet connection, trying to upload 12 gigs of video file, I don't necessarily know if I can do that. Whereas, if I take the video file and I compress it down to 500 megs, I know I can get that up within like no time at all. So I think finally we're going to give up for a little while, at least on the whole Let's Live videos, and we're just going to go to these more sit-down videos. Still be outside, you can still see the natural surroundings behind me and hear the motorcycles or the birds or whatever else. But otherwise, I think we're just going to stop. Because I like doing the Let's Live videos. I really genuinely, but that's a problem you run into in life, right? You like doing something. You enjoy doing something. There's something that you want to do. But if half the time you try to do it, things get screwed up, maybe that is a spaghetti monster telling you, maybe not now. Maybe not now. Not never. Maybe it's not never, but just not now. So my wife is getting more on board with this whole totally and utterly living out of the travel trailer indefinitely. And so we'll be here for another week, and then we go back home to Baltimore for 2 weeks. And then after that, we'll be out for like 2 months. And so again, as I keep saying again and again and again and again, workflow, right? Eckhart Tolle says like 3 things, and he keeps reiterating those 3 things. I have like 11 and a half things that I say, but one of them that is the most important thing is workflow. You want one workflow that just works. This is what a lot of noobs don't understand, and a lot of geeks can't get through their head. I'll admit it. Sometimes I'm the geek that can't get it through his head. But the thing is you don't want to have to troubleshoot the workflow every day or every other day. Basically how you do the work should just work. You should just be able to do it. So I can sit here and I can focus about trying to figure out how to fill an hour of airtime. That should be where my brain is being used. It shouldn't be being used on troubleshooting the system or troubleshooting the infrastructure. The system, the workflow, all that kind of stuff. It should just do what it's supposed to do, right? And if it doesn't, if every day or every other day or every few days you're having to go back and tweak things, that shows you that it's just not good. You got to figure out how to make things a little better. So I think from now on, at least for the foreseeable, compress these video files down to that 500 meg and go from there. Because when you compress the video files, all it does is screw with the video, like it's more pixelated, but the audio quality is still very good. And it's actually not, I know it's pixelated, but it's really not that bad. That was a thing. Like, I've heard a lot of people complain, like, oh, the new videos, the 500 meg sized videos, oh, they're so horrible. And I have to say, like, I sit there and I actually look at the videos, and it's like, those videos are still better quality than what was available on YouTube when I started this 6.5 years ago. So I'm just saying, everybody out there, that's a funny thing, like with YouTube, everybody always says, YouTube was better before Google bought it. It's like the most ridiculous statement in the world. It's just the most ridiculous statement in the world, because like Google bought YouTube like 2 years after YouTube had been created. It's been a long time since Google bought YouTube. Most of the people complaining that YouTube went downhill after Google bought it probably weren't using a computer when Google bought it, to be honest with you. But, that's one thing to keep in mind. Like I say, the video quality and all that kind of stuff. The fact that I can upload even that 500 meg video file that's an hour long and it all goes through and there's no nasty buffering and all that kind of stuff. That is so much better than it used to be. It's so much better than it used to be. And that's one thing you have to think about, like with workflows and what you put out, is, a lot of times, like with me, you want to be cutting edge. Again, 1080p, 60 frames per second, boom, right? But one of the questions you really have to ask yourself is, do you need to be cutting edge? Is cutting edge a lot of times actually a waste of money, right? You have a lot of businesses that do this, where again, as I say with businesses, when you're a CEO or a business owner, you have like one pot of money. And with that one pot of money, you have to pay for a lot of different things. You have to pay for the normal employees. You have to pay for the rent. You have to pay for the HVAC. You have to pay for advertising. You have to pay for this, that, and the other thing. And it's one of those interesting things, like with things like web pages. Like so many times, the web page is good enough. Right? You have the CEO or the business owner, and they're really desperate. They're really strapped for cash. And you go to their webpage, and their webpage says what their hours are, it says what their fees are, it says how to contact them. It's a good enough webpage. Again, is it a 2005 webpage? Yeah. But for what they do, does that mean they're probably going to lose any clients? Probably not. But then they drop like $10,000 or $20,000 to get this brand new spiffy webpage, and you're like, but that wasn't your issue. Your issue is the fact that your employees keep quitting because you don't pay them enough. So, if you would use that $20,000 to increase the salary of your employees by $1 an hour, that probably actually would have been far more effective. And again, that's one of those things you have to think about. So I think we're going to go down to 500 megs and just leave it there forever. We're just going to stop. Because I'm just so tired of troubleshooting this crap every day. Every day, come there. Will it work? Will it won't work? Oh, stressing out. And again, the main point of doing this as a business is I don't want to stress out anymore. I don't want to stress out. I've done 30-day months. I've done 16-hour days. I've done 16-hour days for 30 straight days in a row. And I don't want to do that kind of stuff anymore. I just want to come. I want to talk into a camera. I want to explain the world as I see it. I want to upload it. And then I want to drink some bedtime tea and watch my Supernatural. That's what I want to do in life. So overall, today has been a pretty good day. We went out hiking in the Smoky Mountains. Again, Smoky Mountains is one of those places, if you haven't been, absolutely just an awesome park. It's not like an awesome national park the way the Grand Canyon is an awesome national park, or the way that that Yellowstone is an awesome national park. There's just something about it. It's just something like just very, very nice. It's just this really huge park. It's got really beautiful hikes. It's got very beautiful scenery. I was kind of telling my wife about that. It's kind of like quintessential Appalachia. So like the Appalachian Trail goes through it. And it's like when you come here to the Smoky Mountains, again, you don't get that boom. You don't get that, oh, amazing. But it's more like everything is just so beautiful and so perfect when you go hiking and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely great place. The one thing that I will tell you, because the reason it's called the Smoky Mountains is because like all the mists and the fog that lift in the morning. And the one thing that I will say, it is brutally humid here. So we've been traveling around a little bit, and not really too far, right? We're up in the Laurel Highlands of Pennsylvania. Then we came down a couple hundred miles into Virginia. Then we came down here, which is about 300 miles from Virginia. But in all these different places, there's a different climate. And here, oh my golly, it is humid. You just wake up in the morning and you come out and you already like feel sticky. Like going up there, hiking the mountain. We hiked up in some loop today. We did like a 8.5 mile loop. And man, you got like an hour into that loop and you just, my shirt was just soaked through. Like it was like dripping. Like every time you walk or do anything around here, it's just, you're just like sweating. But it's beautiful. That's one thing you learn. Like whenever you travel, And I think travel gives you patience, and adventure gives you patience, because it really shows you, like, some place, every place has its good and every place has its bad, right? So we were up in the Laurel Highlands. That was an absolutely beautiful place, right? That was great. It was nice, cool weather. We would go out, we would hike for 9 or 10 or 12 miles, and it wouldn't be too bad. I get a little warm, get a little perspiration, but no big deal. So it was beautiful days for hiking, beautiful terrain, all that kind of stuff. But my allergies there were horrible. I don't even know how I got videos done. Like, thankfully, during the day, the allergies would hold off, but at night, I'd be in the trailer just gagging and coughing. Oh, it was disgusting, right? And so that was the thing. It was beautiful, and it was cool, and it was nice, but had the allergies, right? Then we go down to Virginia, and there, allergies basically went away. Had a little bit of allergies, but no big deal. Again, got to do all the hikes and all that kind of stuff. But then at the RV park, one, didn't have Wi-Fi at all, and two, had flies. Had so many flies, like flies upon flies upon flies. Just all these flies. You open the door of the travel trailer, and flies come in. They're like, woohoo, got a new home, right? And so you got all this wonderful, beautiful, cool stuff, but then you got flies that are annoying as hell. Then we come down here. No allergies. All my allergies are gone. No flies. I don't know why. Mosquitoes and all that seem really a lot better this year than I remember them being. But no mosquitoes, no flies, beautiful terrain, but it's hot and steamy as hell. Right? And so that's one of the things you learn. Like when you go out there and you adventure and you travel, every place has its trade-offs. Every place has the things that make it good and wonderful and awesome, and every place has its things where you're like, really? Seriously? Oh, right. So again, it's one of the good things of going out there and traveling and adventuring. As I say, again, when I say in the tech world, everybody wants to know how to get my MCSE or my CCNA. And so much of success is just a thought process. It's just how you handle situations. And I see that with so many people where they want things to be absolutely and utterly perfect. Like, I want to get this perfect job. Eli, when I get the perfect job. It's like, you're not going to have a perfect job. And I think that's why people get so pissed off, and I think that's why they get so irritated, I think that's why they get so depressed and all that kind of thing, is because they think that there's a perfect job out there. And no, there is going to be a job where you get to play with all the really cool technology you want to play with. And you make more money than you can expect. And all your fellow employees are complete and utter assholes. Or you're going to work someplace that has really cool technology, and you're working with really awesome people, and the pay is shit. I think that's one of the things like a lot of people don't understand, is there is no perfect. There is, what you have to decide is, what are you willing to accept? What is important to you in the way of benefits? Do you need money? Do you need good peers? Do you need good technology? So what do you need as far as benefits? And then what can you not accept? Again, this is one of the problems that I see with a lot of professionals when they take jobs, is they're desperate for a job, they need a job, and then they take a job that frankly doesn't pay them enough money, right? If your mortgage is $2,000 a month, plus you've got another $2,000 worth of bills, you can't take a $50,000 a year job, because the fact of the matter is $50,000 a year minus all the taxes and Obamacare and everything else, and you don't have enough money to pay the bills, right? So why the hell are you taking a job when you know you're not going to get the money? Or, like I say, and I had to deal with this with employees. Again, with me, I can deal with type A personalities, highly stressful personalities. And I saw this with employees where they couldn't, right? They go into an environment and they just lose their mind if the client or the other employees, are all stressed out. And so that's one of the things you have to be thinking about, is all the trade-offs. And that's what's good with like adventure and travel and all that kind of stuff. You get to see all these different environments, and then you get to start thinking about, what is really important to you, what doesn't matter so much, so on and so forth, and go from there. Give it a thought. So, like I say, we went out hiking today. That was a good, nice little hike. My wife has decided that we are going to start getting up early. I had this thought in the past. I think it's kind of one of those weird things when you're married, where like you have an idea, and then the spouse shoots down your idea, and then like 6 months later, they come up with the exact same idea. They're like, this is what we should do. And you're like, I swear you shot down that idea. But anyway, she's decided, and I've decided, I'm going along with her, that we are going to start hiking earlier in the morning. So that should be nice. So we got out at 7 o'clock this morning. So it's pretty good. We got out at 7 o'clock this morning. Then we drove through driving through the Smoky Mountain National Park takes forever. It's one of those things, 24 miles at 30-mile-an-hour speed limit takes forever. But it was nice. We went out there. We got our nice hike. We got all that done by about 1 o'clock. So that was pretty good. One of the nice things, too, if you're going to go out there and hike and adventure, is, again, especially when you're in places where it gets to be like 95, 96, 100 degrees, is that if you do the hiking in the beginning of the day, it is much more comfortable than at the end, right? So if you start going out hiking at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, that's when it's already 96 degrees with 110% humidity. If you go out and hiking at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's still pretty nice and cool. Still 110% humidity, but at least it's cooler. So we're going to start doing that more, we've decided, is going out hiking more in the morning. Because again, that's the whole thing, like with time management and all that kind of stuff. Because making sure that I get to do these videos at the end of the day, because that's one of the issues we've been running into, is I do these videos at the end of the day, and then we do the big hiking or the big adventure thing. And a lot of times, we'll get back at 4 o'clock, and then I have to try to relax or whatever before I can do these videos, and I do the video for an hour. That means we don't necessarily eat together. A lot of issues like that. So we're thinking if we push it earlier in the day, then we can get done by like 1 or 2, come back. Maybe everything will be easier. I don't know. We got our truck back today. I was very happy for that. I do have to say Ford. I like Ford. I really do like Ford. Somebody was saying, you could have bought a Dodge. Hindsight is 2020. I was like, I don't fucking want a Dodge. What is it with these people in Chevy and Dodge? I mean, like I say, if you want a Dodge, if you want a Chevy, spaghetti monster, bless you, go out and buy a Dodge or Chevy. I like my Ford. I think the Ford F-150 is built very well. Again, after 23,000. Since I've had it, it's had 2 quirks. There was some weird little thing with a pressure valve for the 4-wheel drive, but they fixed that. They fixed that up, no problem. And even with this, it was a throttle. What the hell was it? It was a throttle control thing. But, I mean, the thing is, like with Ford, what I like is, so I bought this thing. Since it's under warranty, they towed it 58 miles. I think it was 58 miles from where we had broken down to the Ford dealership. They then gave us an Enterprise Ford as a replacement. So basically it was an identical truck, only it didn't have 4-wheel drive. We got to drive that around, and then they had it completely fixed for us in less than 24 hours. So again, I am cranky and I'm a little complainy over the fact that the Ford had a failure. But I do have to say that Ford deals with stuff very well. I was talking with my wife, because I used to own a Mini. And I swear to golly, I hate Minis, and I hate Mini dealers, and I hate Mini mechanics. They were just the biggest pains in the asses. They were just, it was the type of thing I would take my Mini in to get something repaired. And I swear to you, I would get a $400 bill for something else, and they hadn't even fixed what I had brought it in for. I'm like looking at the thing going, okay, well, this is interesting. What about what I brought it in for? Oh, well, this other stuff was more important. It's like, yeah, but this is what I brought it in for. Fix what the fuck I brought it in for. And that seemed like a shocking idea to many. So I do have to say, like, Minis are like fun cars. They say like Minis drive like a go-kart. Yeah. If you want a go-kart, buy a Mini. If you want a vehicle, buy a Ford. But I do have to say, I know Ford had a lot of bad press way back. Like when I was a kid in the 80s, Fords kind of sucked. But again, I've owned a Ford Escort over the years. I've owned a Ford Escort. My mom owned a Ford Taurus. I owned a Ford Windstar. I owned a Ford Escape. I've owned a number of Fords over the years, and I really have to say, I really do like the Fords. I know I'm not supposed to. Like, I have this thing ingrained in my head, like this whole like brand thing. Fords are bad. I know I'm supposed to think Fords are bad. It's been ingrained in my head. But I really have to say, overall, I think the vehicles are very good, and Ford deals with you well. Even when I do have to take the things in for like real repair work or whatever that I have to pay for, it's still like no expense. I think like when I take the Ford in for I'll get an oil change and tire rotation. It costs me like $45. Again, like I say, when I had the Mini, He charged me $75 just for the tire rotation. Anyways, so I like the Ford. So I got the Ford back today. Hopefully he who shall not be named isn't going to call me a vector graphic or something. It was so funny, like I say, because yesterday, Lewis just had this, put this comment on one of my videos. You are a pixel. And I was like, what the hell are you even talking about? And he had an explanation. He wrote a paragraph explanation. It's that still doesn't make any sense. But then, 2 hours later, my truck was on the back of a flatbed tow truck. So I think it was his voodoo. I think Lewis has voodoo. I used to say, Lewis, you got to get in this whole content creation thing. I'm thinking maybe voodoo. He has got so much voodoo power in him. Maybe he just needs to become the next voodoo shaman or something and take over the world that way. But anyways, those are the things that have been going on today. So I want to talk about projects and why these are important. And why projects that you may not think relate to your profession are actually very valuable to do, right? So I'm a technology professional, theoretically. However you define technology professional, I would define myself as a technology professional. But 1,600 hours or so of formal training, been doing technology since 1996. And so I've got a few comments from people saying, Eli, I don't know, you might be getting boring now. Why don't you go when you do a technology project and talk about that? And I looked at the comment and I found that kind of interesting. Because what I don't understand is why people don't understand that this, in fact, what I am doing right now is actually a technology project. Right? And I think that's one of the things that people don't understand. Again, they focus on things like the MCSEs, they focus on the CCNAs, they focus on those certifications, those academic degrees. And they're like, anything that is in this curriculum, if it's on the syllabus, it's real education and training. And if it's off the syllabus, if it's not on the syllabus, well, it's basically just worthless, right? And again, this is one of those big problems that people are getting into in this modern world with going off and getting college degrees and all that kind of stuff, is they're really focused on those damn syllabuses. They're focused on the curriculum, and they're focused on the syllabus, and they ignore everything else. As long as I get a 4.0 in my college degree program, I will be successful. And the issue is, they go out in the real world, and I can say this, having been an employer and knowing enough employers look at the resume, and they go, well, you got a lot of book work. And I have to tell you, the last 5 people I've hired that only had book work were basically worthless. So, thunk, right? Why? Why am I not being successful? The reason is because you're not going out there and doing any kind of real world projects, right? You're not going around and playing with things. And so again, one of the important things that you have to understand is that basically, when you get into business and when you get into your profession, 90% of the stuff that's done in any profession is the same. If you are a marketing professional, 90% of your job is the same as a technology professional, is the same almost as a plumber, is the same as all of these other professions, right? The 10% difference, what they say with chimpanzees are 2% different than us, and that 2% makes all the difference. Well, again, it's about that 10%. A marketing professional has 10% different education than I have, has 10% different training or whatever than a plumber, has 10% different than a mechanic or whatever else. But 90% of what you do, 90% of what is important is the same across the board. What is really important to be a mechanic is the same that's important to be a marketing professional, is the same that's being important to be a lawyer, is the same that's important to being a doctor, is the same, so on and so forth. And this is one of those things a lot of people don't understand, and so they hyper-focus on what they think their profession is, and then they skip all of these other ancillary skills, and then they wonder why nobody cares about them and why they are essentially worthless. Because again, I am not saying they're worthless as in an insult. I'm saying they're worthless as in their value, their monetary value is actually worth zero, right? And so the important thing you have to realize is going out there and being successful in the world is to be successful. There's a lot of these basic skills. Again, these skills I talk about again and again and again and again and again, right? Being able to communicate with people. So being able to communicate with people means going to people that you need help from and being able to explain your problem. What is the problem that you have, and being able to explain it to another person so that they understand what your problem is. And since they now understand what your problem is, they can try to figure out a way that they may be able to solve your problem, right? That's a big thing. Not only being able to explain your problem, but also be able to talk through the other side to make sure that they understand what is going on. So if you say, my truck is broken, and somebody says, well, I can fix it, being able to talk them through, what are you actually going to do? What is the cost going to be? So when my truck failed, right, when my truck broke, and I took it to the mechanic, right, that's its own little project. That is a business project right there. There's a business technology project right there. And a lot of the skills with getting my truck repaired under warranty are the same skills you would use if you're getting your HP server fixed under warranty. So we call them up, we figure out where you can go, we schedule the appointment, we get the tow truck, all of these things have to be done. Then we get to the place. And then once we get to the place, they print out the paperwork. Then we talk about the paperwork that they are presenting me. What does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? What is my cost going to be for this, right? So they bring the rental vehicle, and I don't just assume that the rental vehicle is going to be free, nor do I assume that I'm going to pay for it. Okay, you brought a rental vehicle in. Am I going to pay for it, or are you going to pay for it, right? Discussing all of these issues. So these are the type of skills that are very important in a professional environment. Things like being able to discuss all of these things. Being able to do these problem-solving skills. Also, just the simple task of being able to figure things out, especially in a weird environment. Again, like I say, when our truck broke down, and trying to figure out who to call. So again, it's doing things like research. Okay, our truck broke down, and we are outside of the Smoky Mountains, right? The Smoky Mountain National Park. Okay, can we get Google? Yes, we can get Google. Okay, so we know it's a Ford, and we know it's under warranty, 23,000 miles, 1 year old. Okay, so we know this is going to be warranty work. Okay, then plug in what are the local Ford dealerships, and then we call the first Ford dealership, and that first Ford dealership, they weren't able to take anything for like a week. Then they say call the other Ford dealership. So then we call the other Ford dealership. They're able to take us, but in order for it to be warranty work, we have to call another number. So we then call that other number and have to give that person all this information. They then dispatch a tow truck to then come get our truck to take it to the Ford dealership, right? And so if you ever done a technology project, that's a lot of the way that it goes, right? Your server failed. You know it's the motherboard that failed. Your company paid a lot of money for a maintenance contract in case the motherboard fails. So now you have to call up whoever provides the service or whoever you purchase that maintenance contract through. The thing is the person you purchase the maintenance contract through then subcontracts the work out to somebody else, right? So when you get used to doing these business processes and talking things through and working things through and all that kind of stuff, these are actually valuable skills that will be useful for you going off and being a professional. So, and the thing is too, like you have to realize that so many of the skills like that I'm picking up right now is life, being able to do work is much easier, again, when you have actual real world experience doing it, right? So it's really easy to say things, right? This is what you get with brand new MCSEs. Brand new MCSEs, brand new college graduates. You know the difference between a noob, you know how you can tell the difference between a noob and an old timer? Noobs never shut the fuck up. They will never, ever, ever shut the fuck up. They just keep talking and talking and talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. Where the old timers, they just kick back and they kind of look at the situation, and then they ask a couple of questions, and then they try to really figure out what's going on, and then they go from there. Because again, what old timers know that noobs don't know is that everything is like situational, right? Everything depends upon the situation. So for me, doing all this video publishing, going around the country, this is actually a valuable skill set. You don't really think about it because a lot of folks in the technology world, again, are still focused on MCSEs and CCNAs and all this toilet paper that we've got more than enough of, right? They're all focused on that. So they see me traveling all around the country in my travel trailer with my camera, uploading this stuff, and they go, oh, remember when Eli was an IT professional? Remember when he did real information technology work? Now all he's doing is creating videos from all over, not just the country, but the globe, uploading those videos onto a video distribution platform, then doing communication between all the people that watch the videos, right? Remember when Eli was a real IT professional and he would sit there and deal with, permissions or whatever? And one of the things you have to understand about the modern world, and this is what a lot of the technology professionals just don't get, it's so funny, is again, that for a long time, again, like the IT professionals were kind of like unionized, the equivalent of like unionized steelworkers. We just had a much shorter run, right? So like unionized steelworkers and unionized coal miners and all these, they fought and there were horrible battles and people died. It was really, really nasty during all the labor unrest. But then they came up with a system that they could work under. They figured out the workflow and all that, and then they profited for a long time. Like say 40 years. 40 years we had steel mills. 40 years we had the coal mines. 40 years we had these jobs. You go there, you do the job that you're told to do, you make a lot of money, plus you get a good pension fund, plus you get good health insurance, and you're all happy. And then, surprise, surprise, everybody is like horrified when the world changes, right? And so coal starts getting shipped all the way to Japan to be turned into coke before it gets shipped back to Pennsylvania to be put in the steel plants, and then China starts making a lot of steel, so the steel plants in Pennsylvania start going under, right? And here's what's really funny. This is what I love about geeks. This is what I love about technology professionals, because they're so snobby and they're so snarky, and they'll go around and they will look at the coal miners, and they'll look at the steel people, and they'll look at the factory workers, and they'll be like, well, you should get up with the times. You should get up with, right? Well, if you were smart like the rest of us, you would have learned about servers, and you learned about networking, and you would have learned HTML5 at this point, and then you'd have a good job. Now, the reason that you don't have a good job is because you just haven't kept up with the times. You just have not been smart, right? But the funny part is, and this is why all these people annoy the hell out of me, is basically what the IT industry is going through right now is basically a micro version of what happened to all those other industries, where for 15 to 20 years, the IT industry was this big, solid, monolithic thing. If you learn networking, if you learn Microsoft MCSE, if you learned Linux, if you learned Unix, if you learned any of these skill sets, if you learn to be a Unix miner, or if you learn to be an MCSE factory worker, or I don't know what the hell ever else, right? Whatever metaphor you want to use, then you would go and then you would get paid very well, and you would get enough money for your 401k plan, and you get money for your health insurance, and everything would be really good. And then surprisingly, like I say, the world is shifting, and people are like, what's happening? No, but we're not like the stupid idiots. We're not like the stupid coal miners, and we're not like the stupid steel mill people, and we're not like the stupid they were stupid. The reason that their jobs went away is they were stupid and they were inflexible, and the world changed and they refused to change with the world. That was those people. When I'm being pig-headed, and when the world is changing, and when I'm not changing with the world, and so on and so forth, then, well, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump, because he's going to make America great again. Actually, I can't make too much fun of Donald Trump. This is a horrible presidential election. There is no time in my life I ever would have thought I would vote for Donald Trump. And I actually have to say, I'm going to have to think about it. But anyways, right? And so the thing is that you have to understand is in the modern technology world, things are shifting. Just like it did with the miners, just like it did with the steel mills, just like it did with the factory workers. It's shifting. It's going from being these monolithic things, these big Active Directory forests and domains with Exchange servers and all that kind of stuff, into more and more diverse niche areas that need very specific skill sets, and people need employees or contractors or consultants or whatever that have real world experience doing these things, right? So anybody can say how to create a YouTube channel, right? Anybody can say how to monetize with AdSense. Anybody can say how to create a video and then edit it and upload it, right? But there's all these basic skills that are involved with actually doing this stuff professionally and figuring out what is important, right? So again, you think about it and what should you be doing? Oh, you should be uploading high definition video content. Well, the question is what if you're not able to do that? How do you actually do this kind of stuff in the real world? Do you ship USB drives to somebody who will upload them for you? What is the workflow for that? What is the process with that? All of that kind of stuff. And so with me, as I travel around the country and I figure all this stuff out, these are actually valuable skills to learn, right? How does the internet access work in Tennessee versus up in Maine versus out in the Grand Canyon, that type of thing, right? And actually being able to come out here and play with these things and do all these different things actually is a valuable project that gives me a lot of valuable skills. Again, I'm meeting business owners. So, with me, I talk with everybody. So I get in the tow truck with the tow truck operator. When we're driving up there, I'm grilling him on how tow truck operations work here in the Tennessee area. So he talks about how he's an independent contractor that uses a tow truck that the company owns. So the company owns the tow truck, but then they use him as an independent contractor, so they only pay him a commission for whatever he actually gets towed. And then we talk about it, and you find out interesting things. So I was talking to him about how he got the truck, and he was saying that the person that had the truck before him was really pissed that he got the truck. But the issue was that the person that had the truck before him wasn't even doing enough work to pay the loan fee or whatever for the truck. So the truck costs about $1,000 a month just in upkeep and loans and all that kind of thing. And so I asked him, and this is a curious thing, you think about this in the modern world of technology. So I said, well, that doesn't make any sense, because even if you guys are independent contractors, you still get routed from a main office. And so the main office is going to route you enough to make enough money for everybody. But the interesting thing, and this is one of the interesting things you have to think about in the modern world of technology, said, well, so there's different contractors, there's different contracting layers. And so the first type of contractor that works for the company basically gets shipped out to whatever the company tells them. Do it or get fired, or lose your contract or whatever. Then the second form of contract is like what he does. And it was really interesting. This is one of the things you have to think about, like with the whole gig economy and all that kind of stuff, is where the company gave the previous person the truck to use, but then they're able to log into a system and they're able to then claim whatever jobs they want. So they go in and they see the latest 10 tow jobs that are open, and then they select the one that they want. Well, the weird thing he was talking about with the previous tow truck driver was that the previous tow truck driver only wanted long haul. Like if it was under 200 miles, he didn't want to do it. And again, fine, okay, if it's under 200 miles, you don't want to do it. But the issue that they ran into was that he didn't do anything that was under 200 miles. So I was talking with this guy, and he said that the other tow truck driver would do 10 runs in a week, where he did 16 runs in a day. And so again, for me going out here and learning and doing this project, talking with people, you get to learn about all of these interesting things and how the world works in a way that you wouldn't expect, right? Again, if I was going to hire, this is why I don't want employees, I don't want contractors, I don't want any of this crap, because I hate them all. I hate them all with a passion. But again, you want to think about that. You have somebody that has a mortgage to pay. You have somebody that needs to pay for their car payments and for food and all that kind of thing. You would figure that if you gave them a truck to use and you gave them an application, a mobile app that allows them to pick every job that they want, you would figure that they would pick the best job, as many of the best jobs as possible. Again, you would understand if they want long haul, that those would be the ones they would select first. But at least for me, I would think about it, if you've got bills to pay, then you would select other smaller jobs if long haul ones weren't available. And what you find out is no. In fact, that's not how it works. Some people just select literally exactly the jobs they want, and they make so little money for the company, it's not even paying the bill for something like the tow truck. Right? But again, even talking with this person about things like, again, if you're thinking about business, right? A lot of people don't understand that, like with the world of technology, right? Everybody thinks the world of technology, like the technology business, startup companies, they're up here in this bubble. They're the new economy. They're the new economy, right? This is where all the value is going to be made, with bits and bytes and packets and Docker services, right? That's where it's all going to be made, right? And all of this other stuff, all this other stuff is the old economy. You don't want to worry about, right? But again, if you're thinking about creating the Uber for whatever, don't you have to think about what things cost in the physical world? Right? If you're going out there and you're trying to figure out how to create the next application for something, right, to make it more efficient, shouldn't you understand how the basic business works? So talking with this person, right, and you figure out for one of these it was a big flatbed tow truck, something that easily was able to cope with a Ford F-150. And so that costs $1,000 a month. Right? Just for the upkeep and the payments and all that kind of stuff. And that is something to think about. Okay. So again, everybody's all focused on, like with Uber, right? With Uber, everybody focuses on the app and everybody focuses on the servers and all that kind of stuff. Nobody talks about the cost of cars, the cost of maintenance, gas, insurance, all that kind of stuff. That's what makes everything else run. So if you go out there and you talk with people, you can find some interesting things that you may not have thought about before, and then you may be able to find technological solutions that will support them. So I met this one person who had a startup company. It was actually already very profitable, and he had just been on the cover of Septic Weekly or Septic Monthly as the king of sewers. And you're like, what? Right? So again, you got to think about this. You're a 22-year-old young person. You want to go out there and create a startup company. What kind of startup company are you going to do? Are you going to create the next Facebook? Are you going to create a dog dating app? Are you going to create a variation of Tinder number 15, right? So this person went out, and for whatever reason, he had an in with septic companies. And what he saw was that septic trucks, so septic tanks, so my house has a septic tank, right? So basically all your crap from the toilets, from the washing machines, all the wastewater goes to what's called a septic tank. The water actually then drains out into the surrounding soil, and what gets left is the mass, basically the shit, toilet paper, all that kind of stuff that doesn't go away, right? So you have septic trucks, and so septic trucks, for our house, comes every 2 to 3 years. You pay $200. They dump a hose down there, and basically they vacuum up. They vacuum all the shit up, and they take it, right? Well, he had an in with a septic company, and what he found out that he hadn't realized was that those septic trucks get 5 miles to the gallon. 5 miles to the gallon. So right now, a gallon of gas is $2.50. When I was talking to this person, a gallon of gas was $4. $4, right? So he's sitting there and he's thinking, okay, so he now knows physically that a septic truck gets 5 miles to the gallon. Every gallon at that time cost $4. So every 5 miles that truck goes costs $4. Now you think about it, think about driving around, especially if you've been in any kind of delivery business, it's really easy to waste mileage. It's really easy to waste mileage, especially when you're talking about 5 miles or 10 miles or 20 miles, right? If you have a septic truck traveling around a circuit in a given day, the thought that they could waste 20 miles, 25 miles, does anybody disbelieve that the average septic truck in a day could easily waste 25 miles? And again, if gas is 4 miles, or you get 5 miles to the gallon, it's $4 per gallon, then that means that each truck would waste $20 per day, which means wastes $100 per week, which means $400 per month essentially gets wasted because people don't take the most efficient route for pumping out septic tanks. And then imagine if you've got 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 trucks, right? So instead of wasting $400 a month, if you have 10 trucks, you're wasting $4,000 a month. If you have 20 trucks, you're wasting $8,000 a month, almost $100,000 per year, simply because, you know, when people route themselves for pumping out crap, they don't do it in the most efficient way possible. And so they were sitting there looking at it. It's like, wow, that's a crap ton of money that gets wasted because people aren't routing themselves the most efficiently. And one of the issues too with with septic is you never really know when an appointment's going to come up. Appointments just kind of come up. But the nice thing with septic tanks is that the homeowner doesn't even necessarily have to be there. Like, again, we talk about like time shifting. You know, I've been talking about time a lot, like the whole concept of time. And how I think there's $1 billion idea in shifting how we conceive time. But that's a different thing, right? But one of the nice things with pumping septic tanks is it's not like a pizza, right? If I order a pizza, I want it in 30 minutes. It's not like I'm going to order a pizza and then if it comes in an hour, or 5 hours, or 3 hours, or 12 hours, I care. Right? Oh, look, I ordered a pizza 12 hours ago. Look, it showed up. Yay, right? All right. Pizza, that doesn't work for. But septic tanks, it does, right? You call to get your septic tank pumped, and they will come, and if you're there or not there, nobody really cares. It gets pumped, they give you the bill, there you go, right? You know, it's not like one of those things where you care. Like, was this expertly done? Was this a Lexus quality of septic pumping? Right? They shove their thing in, they suck the shit up, and then they go away. Frankly, that's a nice thing with septic tanks. Like, I have one family member that went like 40, like literally went like 40 years without getting the septic tank pumped. By the time they got into the septic tank, at that point, they did have to get in there with like pickaxes to get the crap out. But that's a nice thing with getting your septic tank pumped is, again, it doesn't even have to get pumped perfectly, right? You know, I talked about before, you know, consistency over quality. As long as you come every 3 years, and as long as you suck up a lot of crap, it's good. Does it matter if you suck up 100% of the crap? Not really. Does it matter if you suck up 50% of the crap? Probably not really. Even if you suck up like 20, even if you totally screw up and suck up 25%, it probably doesn't matter. And frankly, even if you entirely skip doing it and you just come back in the next 3 years, that's still probably good enough, right? You know, it's not like Whole Foods. It's not like quality. It's not like you get done of somebody pumping out your septic tank and you go, wow, man, that guy knew how to pump a septic tank. It's like even when you're there, you're like, oh, golly. You're like, thank God I went to college. Oh, that looks like a horrible job. But anyways, right? And so that's the thing is, as new orders come in during the day, the problem is like somebody creates their route and then new orders are added onto it, and then they start wasting a lot of time and gas going all these new orders. And so basically what this 22-year-old kid did is he figured out a way to create a system to auto route septic tank trucks automatically. So basically what happens is they have their little every septic truck driver has their mobile app, right? They hit give me next destination, and it gives them the next address plus how to get there. GPS how to get there, right? And they don't get the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one. They just get that one. You are going to go to this appointment next. And then they go to that appointment next, and they pump all the crap, right? And everybody, all 10 trucks or all 20 trucks, they go and they take one appointment at a time. When they get done, the system then looks at all the appointments that have been finished, all the appointments that are currently open, where you are geographically located, where everybody else is geographically located, and then gives you the next best appointment to go to. And it does that 20 times. And then everybody gets done with that appointment. So on and so on and so on and so on. So basically, as the day, you only get what the next appointment is, and then you will get auto-routed. And so if one person is slow or one person runs into a problem, it doesn't affect everybody else, right? Because that's one of the issues that people run into, especially with construction or any kinds of these services, is what happens, like, even with the septic, right? Like, because our problem is when people come to pump our septic, the guy put the septic tank in a weird-ass place. Like all the septic people come, and they're like, I'm going to go pump your septic. And then they like walk around her house for like 20 minutes. and then like knock on the door. Hi. Do you know where your septic tank is? Like, I don't know what it is. Like, our septic tank apparently is in a weird place. But that's the thing, right? So like, if you routed people manually at the beginning of the day, you would route, and the problem is, let's say everybody gets 10 appointments for the day. Well, one person gets 10 beautiful appointments. They go, they pump the crap, they go to the next one, it's all easy. So they get done at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So again, you're paying these people for an 8-day work day. One person gets done after 5 or 6 hours, has 2 hours to waste. On the other hand, one person gets like 10 appointments in a row where they're walking around the damn house trying to figure out where the hell the septic is. Or they know where the septic is, but the pipe isn't long enough. Or they go to hit the pump, and for some reason the pump's not working, so they got to go and troubleshoot. Right? You just have a bad day, right? If you do service, you know you get those bad days every once in a while. So again, what should have taken you 7 hours or 8 hours ends up taking you 12 hours, right? So if you've got a manual list for appointments, then you're just screwed. One person is pissed because if they're getting paid hourly, they're only getting paid 6 hours for that day instead of a full 8. The other person is pissed because they only wanted to work 8 hours and now they're working 12. Right? So now you have inefficiency. Now you're paying overtime when you don't want to pay overtime. Because again, that's one thing you have to think about, especially with hourly employees. If you have one person that works 6 hours and then you send them home, well, the person that then works 10 hours, not only that 2 extra hours doesn't cost the same amount of money. That 2 extra hours for the person that works 10 hours, they're getting paid at time and a half. So wouldn't you have rather the person that got done early did the work at their normal pay rate versus paying somebody else at time and a half, right? So he went out there and he figured out how to do this, and so he came up with this really cool piece of software. It costs $50 per truck per month, which means, again, some of his clients had 20 trucks, which meant a single client that used this was worth $1,000 a month, right? And there's a lie in septic. And again, you don't need any special equipment. It's all, mobile app or whatever. It makes a lot of sense to all the people that do the septic services, because again, they know every gallon, every 5 miles that the person drives, that was wasting $4 at the time. Even now at $2.50, that still gets to be expensive. So again, for paying $50 for this automatic routing system, it then saves them hundreds a month. Again, like I say, if they wasted $400 a month before, they now pay $50 a month, and they get to save $350 off of per truck. Right? So again, if you've got 20 trucks, you're now paying $1,000 a month. So you're paying $1,000 a month to save another $7,000. And again, that's how business should always be. That's how business should always be. Is basically when they're buying something from you, is I'm going to buy this $1,000 product, especially business to business. I'm going to buy this $1,000 product so that I can either save money on production or I can put out more widgets, right? And that's the thing, is that kid knew to do that 22-year-old knew to do that, because he was actually dealing with septic trucks and all that kind of stuff. And that is what I see is the biggest problem in this modern world, is unfortunately everybody has been brainwashed by the academic establishment. Now I know Mao, Chairman Mao, I know Chairman Mao was a bad guy. I am not asking for the reincarnation of Chairman Mao. But I do have to say, when you look at the modern world in the United States, I do have a little bit of sympathy for why academics, back during the days of Chairman Mao, got duck-marched out into the middle of the rice paddies and told to do some fucking real work. Because the big problem that we're having right now is the academics have taken over. The academics have said, if you don't get a college degree, if you don't get a certification, if you don't do this, that, and the other thing that we tell you to do, you can't get a job. But then you go out there and you do all the stuff. You take the $50,000 in student loans, you spend frickin' 16 to 20 years in school, and then you come out and you can't get a job. And the reason is because you don't understand how the real world works at all. At all. Right? So for me, like, even though this may seem really weird, like people say, oh, you're just on a vacation. Look at you, Eli, you're just videotaping on a vacation. And again, no. Well, I'm having a good life. I have a good job. I have a very good job. YouTube is a very good job, but it is a job. It's me going out here, talking with people, discussing things, figuring things out, and being able to explain it to folks about, again, like I say, how the real world works. And I think that's the big problem that so many young adults have, is they don't deal with anything in the real world. They don't take responsibility for anything. If they take their vehicle for warranty work to the auto repair place or the dealer, they just drop it off. They don't talk. They don't think about it. They just sign the dotted line. If it comes back and all the work is free, they're not even happy that all the work is free, because they don't really know if it should cost them anything to begin with. And so they drive it off. Or if the dealer comes back and it's the $300 charge, then they're pissed. But they're not really pissed because the dealer's screwing them over. They're pissed because they don't want to spend $300, because they're not taking any ownership of the process. And that's what I'd say with you folks, is just to go out there and, again, to live life. Again, think about things as business transactions. When your car is getting repaired, look at that transaction, look at the operation, talk to people about how things are working and all that kind of stuff, so that you understand it better. When somebody tows your vehicle, talk with the tow truck driver to understand how their world works, how the things operate. Again, like I say, the septic. Again, I mean, that's one thing. Like I was talking to the owner of the company that we use to clean out our septic system, and he's actually a retired state police officer. And I asked him, I said, how the hell did you get into, if you're a retired state cop, how the hell did you get into running a septic company? And he said he had a friend of his that was running a septic company that said it was really good money, but that he had to get out of it for health reasons. And so he was getting out. He was retired from being a state police. So in Maryland, after 20 years, you can retire as a state police officer. So if you get on when you're 21, that means you're going to retire pretty well off at 41, right? So he was getting retired in his early 40s, and he had a friend who was doing the septic thing, getting out because of health problems, and said, look, the business is really good. It's a really good business. Again, kind of like with that whole dirty jobs thing. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to do pumping septic systems. So it's actually a surprisingly good business. So he got into it, and he bought his friend's truck. And then this was like, I was talking to him, and he had bought the first truck like 10 years ago, and now he said he owns 15 trucks. And again, he said it was the easiest job in the world, right? He has all of his people. They go out, they pump septic. I mean, basically, in order to get employees, it's like, look, we're going to pay you some pretty decent money, and you're going to pump shit all day. There's not a lot you have to worry about, right? You have to be nice enough to the customer. They come out, you smile, you say yes ma'am, no ma'am, whatever, and pump the shit. And he said it was a really, really, really good job. But again, I learned this from sitting there and talking with him. And again, if I was looking for some kind of other business, like, again, YouTube content creation is the way to go for me. But again, if I was sitting there, I was like, what should I do? You go out there and you talk with people and you figure out, maybe I should get in the septic business. I was talking to somebody with a porta potty. That's one thing. You should always talk with people, right? And again, I was talking with somebody with a porta potty business. And when we had all the construction being on in the house, by rules and regulations in Maryland, if you have construction employees at a site for 8 hours a day for more than like 3 days, you have to rent a porta potty. So again, I was talking to the porta potty guy. The porta potty guy was the assistant to the owner of the company. And again, things that you don't realize. Porta potties is a redonkulous business. Again, you think about it. You go out there and you see porta potties everywhere. You see porta potties here, you see porta potties there, you see porta potties everywhere. Have you ever thought about how the porta potty actually gets there? Have you ever thought about how it gets cleaned? To whatever degree it gets clean. Have you ever thought about the maintenance contract of a porta potty? But it was actually pretty impressive. I sat there and talked with them. I think the rent on a porta potty is like $100 a week, and it like goes down. So you get like $400 for a porta potty sitting somewhere. So they come and they've got this little forklift thing, and the new porta potties they drop. And then when they're done, they come and they pick the porta potty up and they put it on there, and they've got this whole system for flushing and all that kind of stuff. And again, $100 a week for basically a big plastic box to sit on a property. Right? Do you think about that? So I think that's the thing that I would have you folks think about a little more. Is I understand, like, there's some people out there that are irritated with me because I'm not doing the right type of technology projects. Eli, there's real technology projects out there. There's building server rooms, and there is running cable, and there's setting up Wi-Fi systems, and whatever the hell you're doing now, right? I remember the days. I remember the days when Eli was an information technology professional, and now, what does he do? what does he do? He sits in front of a video camera that records him talking for an hour. He then takes that video and he compresses it down to the size so that he can very easily upload it using his mobile wireless connection onto a platform that then encodes that in multiple different ways so that he can then advertise it out to many people, and so that he can use that system to communicate with other people. Remember when Eli did information technology? Remember when Eli did information technology? Now look at what he's doing. Now he's just doing YouTube shit. It's like, this is why I can't deal with the modern world. It's like, I'm doing information technology, you a-holes. God damn it. Again, it's you folks that are behind the times. But again, that's the thing to be thinking about. I say this modern world and where do you fit into it? People, the biggest problem nowadays is people want certifications. People want jobs. People want all of these things that aren't why we get paid, aren't why we get money. We get money to solve problems. If you don't know any problem to solve, if you don't know how business operates, if you don't know what people want, then how are you ever going to do that? Right? Because that's the thing. Again, the thing that not enough people realize is what technology professionals really get paid for. What we really get paid for is we get paid for the decision. The decision. That's what we really get paid for, right? So what do I mean by we get paid for the decision? So we get paid for the decision about how you're going to standardize server rooms. So when you put in server rooms for let's say a company that's building out many offices, you're going to go in and you're going to figure out how that should get built. Right? This is where the server rack is going to be. This is the type of server that's going to go in. This is the type of telephone system that's going to go in. And you're going to spend a lot of time and energy figuring that out. And you're going to write it all out. And you're going to document it, right? But that is the important thing. What is not the important thing is then building out 50 server rooms. Or that's not the most valuable thing, right? Because that's the thing, is what you do is you figure out what the best course of action is. And then you simply follow that course of action. Again, like I say, the important thing is not getting your MCSE, it's not getting your CCNA, it's not getting a college degree or a PhD. It is deciding what is the appropriate course of action and then spending however long it takes to get there. Right? The most value, and this is the problem with young people nowadays. The most valuable decision, the thing that you should focus on most is what people don't. It is before you go to college, all your energy and all the emphasis is figuring out what is the best degree to get. And then after that, it's just work to get the degree. So again, I talk about the woman who is a chemical engineer, or this or that or the other thing. Again, that's the valuable thing. It's figuring out what profession, what job, whatever else will give you, the pay, the respect, all that kind of stuff that you want, and then you just work the plan, right? It's creating the plan. The plan is what is valuable. Working the plan is just turning that plan into reality. But a lot of people don't focus on that. So again, I'm out here. This is my project. Again, there's a lot more to this stuff than you folks realize. It's so funny, right? Eli, why do you do real work? I'm like, well, you know how hard it is? Like I say, when I'm doing my little Instagram things, because I am all into this live vlogging thing. Like I say, this Let's Live. I wish bandwidth was better. But I think there's a lot. Like I say, like I'm throwing out this whole conception of time thing, kind of like as an Elon Musk. Go, Kyle Morgan. You figure out a $1 billion company based on the conception of time, and then give me my 1%. But like for me, what I'm really interested in is this whole idea of, like I say, of the live vlogging. Because again, okay, think about this. Like Google has created a hive mind for known information, right? What do I mean by that? So basically, Google has stored all this information that is accessible very easily for what is known, right? So 2 + 2, figuring out what the capital of Arizona is, or the capital of Uzbekistan, or when was Putin born, or things like that, right? Google has figured out how to make all of that information very, very discoverable. See, what my question is, as pondering, and I know it's simple. I've got a webcam, and I'm uploading this to YouTube. I'm using some Instagram stuff. But my question is, can you create a hive intelligence for real-time information? Right? You know, not what is known, not what was discovered 6 months ago, or 6 years ago, or 6 days ago. But like, imagine, like, what I'm wondering is, imagine, kind of like with that whole Twitter feed, can we create a more rich environment for the idea of the Twitter feed, right? So as people are discovering or seeing or learning in real time, you can almost get a window into it, right? You know, they like when the security shows, right? So any security show now, they all somehow can tap into every single webcam in the city. They can track the person in the city. What if you could do that with, like, scientists? Now think about this, right? Let's say something like genetics engineering, like something pretty complicated. Now, if you talk with people that do very complicated things, one of the things I always say is like, a lot of the breakthroughs, a lot of the advancements come from, like, stupid things. Like, just a stupid concept comes up, and all of a sudden, it's like they look at a cream donut, and then they're like, oh, so the genome is like a cream donut, which means if we extract the goo and I don't know anything about genetics, but right. But the thing is, so, like, imagine if there was, like, a reality show for research geneticists. So think about it, right? So I'm a research geneticist, and I'm sitting there and I'm doing all my stuff. And then I don't know what to do next. My last 5 experiments kind of blew up in my face, right? It's not going well. So I sit down with my cup of coffee. What if there was some kind of portal I could look at and actually watch other research geneticists in real time as their experiments either blow up or don't blow up? Right? So you're watching somebody, you know, so let's say I'm a research geneticist and I'm mixing chemicals to do something with genetics, I don't know. And I put them all in and it fucking explodes. Boosh! Right? And you're like, damn it, it was that close. Right? If my thing didn't explode, it would have done whatever the hell it was supposed to do, but it exploded. So then I sit there with my cup of coffee or my Monster drink or whatever, and what if I could open up a portal where I could watch other people doing work in real time? And then I could watch another research geneticist as they pour all this stuff together, and their thing doesn't explode. You're like, huh, but it fails, right, for whatever reason. They pour all the stuff in, and it doesn't explode, but it also doesn't do. But then you're looking at it, and you're like, well, why didn't it explode? And you realize, oh, because they're using this other additive. And you can run, and you can pour all this stuff together, boom, wah, wah, right? Like, imagine if we could be discovering and learning off of each other in real time. And that's kind of like what I'm playing here. Like I say, this whole Let's Live thing, again, it's always funny. Like, everybody, like, looks at the stuff that I do. It's always like, oh, Eli, that's so quaint. Coochie, coochie, coo, let's live. But no, seriously, like when you look at the video gamers, right? This is what I hate. This is what I hate about baby boomers. Like, when are baby boomers just gonna go away? Because they are just so destructive in the modern world. Because they see all these video games, they see Call of Duty, and you see Xbox, and they see PlayStation 4 and all that kind of stuff. And they see PewDiePie, and all they see is horrible stuff. When I was a kid, when I was a young person, I was out there playing in a real playground. Well, shut up. Who cares? Right? Because what I look at is you have all these people that are able to work. You have people spread around the globe that are able to become members of a team to be able to accomplish an objective in a short amount of time and then break up again. And then in real time, as new Call of Duties come out, right, as new video game, Battlefront or whatever the hell come out, then you have these Let's Players that are like in real time learning things, uploading the videos the exact same day so that other people can learn from it. And again, you look at that, and again, who the fuck cares about Call of Duty? I don't care about Call of Duty. I really don't. I don't own a PlayStation. I don't own an Xbox. I don't play PC games. I'm a Mac. I play my Candy Crush. I'm addicted to Candy Crush right now. But imagine this. Imagine if geneticists could communicate the same way that video gamers do. What if geneticists could teach each other in near real time? And that's what I'm kind of wondering about, like I say, with this whole Let's Live thing. So that's what I'm out here doing. You may think it's a goofy project. I mean, like, oh, look at Eli and his shirt out in the middle of nowhere. But again, it's a question of what can you do in this modern world? Again, like I say, when everybody gets 35 megabit per second connection, again, like I say, everybody's focused on gig connections, right? So, Kansas City has 1 gigabit per second connection. Seattle is getting 1 gigabit per second connections. Oh, boo-hoo, I don't have a 1 gigabit per second connection. But here's a question, though. Right? Again, I wish every place in the world had a 1 gigabit per second connection, because then none of this, I could upload my videos. But everybody gets so focused on what they don't have. Like, one of the questions that I'm trying to figure out as I'm traveling around the country is, what can you do with what you do have? Because what you have to think about this, right? Now, I'm not making a lot of money off of this channel yet, but I'm making almost $300 a month. Hopefully in the next 2 or 3 days I get to have a little party because I'm making coffee money, right? But if I can create a YouTube business where I'm uploading 20 hours of videos a month, and I am literally able to do that from almost anywhere in the country. Video is one of the most intensive data tasks that you will ever do. Upload, download, video is a bitch, right? I mean, again, compared to text, compared to any other files, audio files, video files suck. So again, if I can do this from almost anywhere in the country, then what it does is it starts to show you what you can do even with a limited connection. Okay, so it costs $100 a month for 18 gigs of Verizon LTE bandwidth, which, again, if you're doing video files, isn't so much. But for almost any other data task, it's an insane amount of data. So if I'm able to do this out of this travel trailer, then it starts making you think, what can other companies do? What can actually be accomplished now that people don't realize can be accomplished because everybody's complaining that they don't have 1 gig per second connections? Starting to think this stuff through. And so that's my thought. So this is my project. If you don't understand what's going on, I don't know. Go get your MCSE, go get your CCNA. I get so tired of it. Eli, but I just want my CCNA. Like, all right, fine, get it. It's not my problem. What is it with my wife? She's trying to burn down. My wife is trying to burn down the RV. But anyways, I've been talking for 1 hour and 12 minutes now. So even if I am compressing the videos, I should keep these relatively close to the hour length. Because again, my brand is an hour of video every day. But I hope I gave you folks some things to think about. But again, like I say, tow truck drivers and sewer septic tank drivers and all this kind of stuff. This is where real money is. This is where cash is. And nobody's focusing on it because it ain't cool, right? Anyway, something to think about. So with that, we will call it a day. I am going to take a shower because I am not joking. Again, I may be melodramatic, but I try not to exaggerate. I don't know, you just feel like slimy. Like as soon as you walk out into this humidity, you like just feel like slimy like 2 seconds later. Like, oh, I was hiking up that mountain today. It was just like my entire shirt was like dripping water. So with that wonderful thought, I'm gonna go take a shower and drink some bedtime tea and watch some Supernatural. I'm so addicted to Supernatural. If you haven't seen Supernatural, watch Supernatural. I'm telling you, it's a surprisingly good show. Like, no plot. Don't expect a plot. But it's a good show nonetheless. Anyways, with that, talk to you folks in the next video.